I should have never opened that window into the deep web. Even now, years later, I can still feel the glow of the screen burning into my eyes. The pale reflection of my own face, staring back, helpless, frozen. What began as curiosity turned into something I can't erase. I thought it was just another late night at college, just me messing around online, following the same trend everyone else was talking about. But the moment I clicked past the safety filters, the moment I typed a few careless words into a chat room, that was the moment my life changed. I remember the silence in my dorm. Only the faint hum of my laptop fan, the occasional tap of keys. Then the faces appeared, photographs too brutal to be fake, too raw to be staged. And the man who posted them, grinning directly into the camera as if he already knew me. I typed one sentence, a stupid outburst of anger, and it was enough to mark me. The screen went black. Then a new message appeared, glowing green letters cutting through the dark. Call the police and you're dead. At first, I laughed nervously. A scare tactic, I thought. But then my phone buzzed with a message that had no number. And my webcam light flicked on by itself. That was when I realized someone was watching me. Back then, I was just another college kid, curious, restless, and a little too sure of myself. Everyone on campus seemed to be talking about the deep web like it was some underground amusement park, a place where you could see the things society tried to hide. Some were bragging about buying fake IDs, others about shady chat rooms where you could say anything. I'd always heard the horror stories, hackers stealing your identity, viruses frying your computer, people tracking your address. But when everyone around me was jumping in without hesitation, I convinced myself it was safe enough. A friend helped me set it up. He asked me if I planned on doing anything illegal. I said no, of course not. He laughed and told me that meant we didn't need the extra layers of security. No Tails software, no paranoid steps. He showed me how to use the hidden wiki, how to keep it on censored mode so I wouldn't stumble into things I couldn't handle. He promised me it was fine. And for a while, it was. For the first couple of weeks, the deep web felt harmless. Slow-loading pages, broken links, and forums that were nothing more than glorified message boards. I found discussions about obscure movies, weird philosophy groups, even bought a little weed just to test if it actually worked. It almost felt normal, just a rawer, grittier version of the internet I already knew. And with each successful login, I grew bolder. That's when the arrogance crept in. I thought I understood it, thought I could handle whatever came next. So one night, I disabled the censored filter. It felt like tearing off a blindfold. Suddenly, the links looked darker, the categories uglier. Most of the pages still led nowhere, but every once in a while, I'd land on something unsettling. Then I found it, a site called All the Gore. At first glance, it looked like a massive chat room divided into topics. I told myself I had a strong stomach. I'd watched horror films since I was a kid. I'd seen violence in movies and on the open web. But this wasn't fiction. The people inside weren't role-playing. They were boasting. Some of them described killings in detail. Others posted photos as proof. There was one user who stood out. His name was Culture, 045. He had the room's attention, typing out his story with sickening pride. He claimed he'd broken into a house, murdered the parents in their sleep, and dragged the daughter home. My hands hovered over the keyboard as I told myself it had to be a lie. But then he posted the photos. That was the first time I realized how deep I had gone, how far from safety I had wandered. The images seared into me, her eyes swollen from crying, her body bound to a chair, her mouth open in a silent scream. And the last picture, him, drilling into her skull, smiling at the camera as if he already knew me. My stomach twisted, my heart pounded in my ears, and in my arrogance I typed the words that would unravel everything. "You people are sick! You deserve to die!" The chat exploded with laughter. The moment I hit enter, I knew I'd made a mistake. The chat room went quiet, then erupted in taunts. Lines of text scrolled faster than I could read. Insults, threats, people calling me weak, naive, pathetic. But then, among the flood of mockery, one message stood out. "Really? Where do you live, buddy? I'm sure everyone would love to see you on this site." It was from Culture 045. My stomach dropped. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling. And then I sealed my fate. Out of panic, out of some foolish sense of justice, I typed, "I'm calling the police. I'll have this site shut down." For a few seconds, nothing happened. The screen froze. My chest tightened with a shred of relief, thinking maybe they'd kicked me out. But then the chat box vanished. The screen went black, and slowly a new window opened, green text glowing against the darkness. Admin 1. Call the cops and you will regret it. A cold sweat broke across my forehead. I didn't type anything, I just reached for my phone. The second I did, it buzzed in my hand. A new text. Call the police and you're dead. No number, no unknown sender, just blank. My breath hitched. The light on my laptop's webcam flicked on by itself. I froze. The screen changed again, and I saw myself staring down on my phone, captured live through my own camera. I remember whispering, "No, no, no, no." Green text appeared once more. Admin 1. Put the phone down. Uncover the webcam. I obeyed halfway, set the phone on the desk, but kept my thumb pressed over the lens. Admin 1. Okay, be like that. The next message carved ice into my veins. Admin 1. My full name, age, my real age, address, my dorm address. It would be a shame if you and your college buddies went missing, wouldn't it? I couldn't breathe. I uncovered the camera with a shaking hand. They had me. Step by step, they walked me through commands to erase my traces, to make it impossible for me to ever come back to the site. And like a puppet, I followed every single one. When it was over, another text came through. Now, don't ever try again. No number, no trace. Just a blank threat hanging in the air. That night, I didn't sleep. Every creak in the hallway, every shadow under the door felt like someone coming for me. I wish the story ended there. If I'd just stopped, if I'd listened to the warning and erased everything, maybe I could have lived with only nightmares. But the deep web doesn't let go that easily. Once they know your name, your face, your address, you're marked. For a few days, I tried to convince myself it was over. I moved in with my friend David, a quiet, disciplined guy who kept his head down and never touched the deep web. He thought my story was insane, but agreed to let me crash at his place for a while. I told myself being near someone responsible would keep me safe. I clung to that idea like a life raft.
But only a week later, it started again. One night, while we were both studying late, my phone buzzed. The message had no number, just like before. "Check your computer." I swallowed hard, staring at the words. David leaned over my shoulder as I opened my laptop. The cursor was moving on its own. Windows opened and closed. Files I'd never seen before were being downloaded. My attempts to stop it, Control-Alt-Delete or force quit, even pulling the Wi-Fi, did nothing. It was as if invisible hands were inside the machine, dismantling everything. Then another text. "Look out your window." We froze. David's apartment overlooked a small parking lot. I pulled the blinds aside, and there he was, a man leaning against a white van, phone glowing in his hand. He looked up as if he could see me. When our eyes met, he nodded. My phone buzzed again. "Type Shift-Alt-F5. Activate the software." I shook my head. David grabbed a baseball bat from the corner, whispering for me not to listen. My hands hovered over the keys, but I couldn't bring myself to obey. It was malware. It had to be. The man outside took a step forward, and then another. The phone buzzed again. "I'm coming in if you don't do it now." We dialed the police. David gripped the bat, ready to swing if the door opened. The doorknob rattled, then jerked violently. Someone slammed against it again and again, the echo booming through the apartment. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would break my ribs.
Then came the scratching, metal against wood, long, deliberate, like claws carving into the door frame. After what felt like forever, the noise stopped. Footsteps faded down the hall. When the police arrived, the van was gone, but carved deep into the door was my name. The next day, a tech officer wiped my laptop, muttering about corrupted core files. "You'll need a new one," he said flatly. "This machine's poisoned." I wanted to believe that was the end. It wasn't. A week later, I collapsed onto my bed after class, exhaustion pulling me under. That's when I heard it, the faint rattle of my closet door. At first I thought it was just the pipes, but then, with a sharp crack, the door swung open. A man in a mask stepped out. I bolted, slamming the bedroom door behind me, racing down the hall and out to my car. Tires screeched as I sped away. By the time the police returned, the man was gone, the apartment untouched. They found no sign of forced entry. But I knew what I saw. That night, I opened my new laptop, only to find the wallpaper had been changed. No password, no barriers, just a grotesque photo, a masked man stabbing a knife into a baby doll's eyes in some kind of cabin. My stomach churned. And then, the software was back, installed on its own. The screen filled with a live feed, a boy, maybe 13 or 14 years old, sitting at his desk, scrolling on his computer. He had no idea his webcam was streaming his every move. A chat box blinked in the corner. "Welcome to our live stream. We're glad everyone could be here. Thank you, John, for joining us as well." My name. They waited until I was watching. The closet behind the boy creaked open. A man stepped out, toolbox in hand. He clamped duct tape over the boy's mouth, pinning him to the chair as the child thrashed in terror. I clawed at my keyboard trying to exit, but the commands were useless. The stream had trapped me. What followed was a nightmare I can't retell without shaking. A screwdriver driven into the boy's chest, a hammer crushing his hands into pulp, an electric saw tearing into his face while he screamed behind the tape. The chat box filled with cheers, grotesque requests, laughter. And then, at the end, Culture 045 typed, "Thanks for watching, John." The stream ended, and my wallpaper changed again, this time to a photo of my own front door. I vomited on the floor. My phone buzzed relentlessly, and when I finally looked, I nearly dropped it. Messages from friends, family, all accusing me of sending them the stream. What the hell is wrong with you? The police are on their way. They'd framed me, used my accounts to spread that horror like it was my own doing. When the police arrived, I spilled everything. For once, they believed me. Investigations ran for weeks, and then, finally, there was a breakthrough. 4 men were arrested. Culture 045, Admin 1, and 2 others who had been working with them. The site was uncovered and shut down. My name was cleared. For the first time in months, I thought maybe I could breathe. But there was one detail that never left me, one thought that still keeps me awake at night. The chat room had been full, dozens of people watching, laughing, cheering. Only 4 were caught. The rest, they're still out there, still waiting. And there are more like them. Thousands, maybe, waiting for someone careless enough to wander too far into the dark. I thought it was over when the arrests hit the news. The site was gone, the monsters locked away, my name cleared. For the first time in months, I managed a full night's sleep. But calm never lasts, not when you've already opened the door.
It was a Thursday night. David had gone home for the weekend, leaving me alone in the apartment. I sat in the dark, flipping through channels, trying to convince myself that I wasn't still haunted. That's when the laptop, my brand new, clean laptop, powered on by itself. The screen glowed against the empty room, casting long shadows across the walls. At first, it was just static. Then words bled through in jagged white letters. "Did you really think it ends here?" My chest tightened. I scrambled to shut the lid, but the hinges locked in place like invisible hands were forcing it open. A webcam feed flickered on, not of me, but of my front door. The angle was close, too close, like someone had mounted a camera right outside. My phone buzzed, no number, just one message. Open it. 3 knocks rattled through the apartment, loud, heavy. My blood ran cold. I whispered to myself that it had to be a prank, some leftover virus, anything but real. But then the knocks came again, harder, shaking the frame. I grabbed David's bat and edged toward the door, every step echoing through the silence. The laptop shrieked with distorted audio, voices layered over each other, hundreds of whispers chanting my name. The doorknob twisted, slowly, purposefully. I raised the bat above my head, ready to swing, when the door cracked open just an inch, and through the gap I saw it. A mask, white, cracked, expressionless. The same mask I had seen that night in the closet. I slammed the door shut with everything I had. Something pounded back on the other side, a force so strong the hinges screamed. The whispers from the laptop grew louder, deafening, until all I could hear was my name echoing, splintering inside my skull. I screamed, lifting the bat, ready to fight whoever or whatever was on the other side. The pounding stopped, and then silence. When I finally dared to open the door, the hallway was empty. No mask, no figure, just a slip of paper lying on the floor. One sentence, written in blocky black letters. We are many. We are watching. I never slept in that apartment again. That night, after the pounding stopped and the whispers died, I packed what I could carry and drove until the sun came up. The slip of paper with those words, "We are many, we are watching," stayed crumpled in my pocket, as if throwing it away would make it worse. The police told me it was impossible. The men responsible were already behind bars. The site was gone. The evidence suggested there couldn't be anyone left to haunt me. But deep down, I knew better. What I had seen, what I had felt, wasn't something 4 arrests could erase. I tried to rebuild my life. New city, new phone, new laptop. I even cut ties from people from my old campus, afraid that anyone who knew me could be another doorway back into that nightmare. On the outside, I looked fine. Just another student finishing college, moving on. But at night, the silence never feels empty anymore. I unplug my devices, cover my webcam, turn my phone off completely, but the sense of being watched lingers. Sometimes when I walk home, I swear I see a white van idling at the edge of the street. Sometimes I dream of the boy in the live stream, his wide, terrified eyes staring at me, as if I could have saved him. I tell myself the story is over, that I survived, that justice was served, but the truth is simpler and far more terrifying. The deep web doesn't forget, and once it knows your name, you can never truly escape. That's where my story ends, at least the part I can tell. The arrests made headlines, the files were erased, and people around me eventually stopped asking questions. But I still feel their eyes. Somewhere out there, behind another screen, behind another mask, someone is waiting for me to slip, to log in again, to forget how close I came. So if you ever feel the pull of curiosity, if you ever think the deep web is just another corner of the internet, remember my story. Remember the faces I saw, the voices I heard, the message carved into my door. Because once you step too far into the dark, there's no way back into the light. And you'll never be sure who's watching you right now.